Ladies and gentlemen,
you are now tuned in to Mastering Mitzvahs. Mastering Mitzvahs. A podcast focused on creating the perfect bar and bat mitzvah celebration, offering tips, tricks, and trends to ensure an amazing event. Mastering Mitzvahs. From New Jersey's own Explosive Entertainment. Explosive Entertainment.
I know you're gonna dig this.
And here they are, your hosts, Dylan Weissman and Mike Langser.
There you go.
All right, Dylan, we're back. 2 weeks in a row.
Not bad, man.
Yeah,
Not bad.
Good. Hey, this is a topic that's been like something burning me to talk about. I want to jump right into it. Like, I want to cut the small talk today. I want to go right into music at bar and bat mitzvahs, because there's been such a trend in what the kids like, which is so different than what the adults like. And let's also, cut the line and say boys and girls have very different tastes. And I think we need to discuss it in this podcast. And, I don't know how to sing these, details to the world, but those planning mitzvahs have to understand kids like one thing, adults like another. There's a very, very complicated formula to success and making everybody happy. So let's chat about it.
Yeah, man. The music. First of all, this is episode 142, Mastering Mitzvahs.
Thanks.
And I think we titled it Music Expectations. And here's why I think we titled it this way. It's because unlike almost any other style of celebration, the generational gap at a bar bat mitzvah is the largest. At a wedding, you typically have 2 generations. At a bar mitzvah, you in most cases have 3 generations. And that span alone makes music very, very challenging from a broad standpoint.
Let me put that in musical terms. This past weekend alone, I had requests for everything from the Drifters through Lil Uzi Vert and REO Speedwagon. Try to figure out that complexity in the same party.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's really, really hard. It's harder than any other event style that I've seen before. And it's becoming more and more challenging because of the speed in which songs become popular or become off the hill, or over the hill. Like, it's really, really challenging. So I wanted to chat about it today with you, Mike, seeing as we're kind of on the front lines of it.
Not kind of. We are immersed in this challenge. And I'm up for the challenge. I enjoy the challenge. I think this is what separates the men from the boys in this industry, though. Of course, having a stellar MC and incredible dancers are vitally important. I think, though, equally as important is the selection of the right songs at the right time of the night for the right length of time. That's a lot of things I just said. The right time of the night, the right length of time, and how many of each of those songs you're playing back to back, all is the formula of success or destruction, really.
Yeah, so I think that the biggest key there, Mike, is right time of night. With the right energies, but the right time of night is really, really important. If the easiest way to navigate the kids request list that in most cases does not appeal to the adults, and the adult request list, which in some cases, not all cases, do not appeal to the kids, you need to stagger your meal times. I think that's the key. Right?
I fully agree. Mealtime staggering is huge. That gives us an opportunity to play a full adults dance set while the kids are eating, and vice versa. Absolutely agree with that.
And this doesn't mean it's going to be loud and crazy the whole time, but it does give us direct times, deliberate times where we can play this music. And bar mitzvahs are so much more challenging because we're finding that the bar mitzvah boys are into the trendy hip hop and rap that alienates almost all of the adults, where in a lot of cases, bat mitzvahs, the girl's style of music, whether it be Taylor Swift or Dua Lipa or something like that, typically finds its way through the adults a little bit smoother. This doesn't mean that all bar mitzvahs are the same. It doesn't mean that all bat mitzvahs are the same. But we're seeing it a lot here where the rap genre of 2024 and beyond, it's hard to navigate, man. It's really, really hard.
Let's talk about that music for just a quick second. It's very vulgar, first off. And if it's even playing the clean edits, because we all play the clean edits, but the kids on the top of their lungs are going to scream the dirty words no matter what we do. Now, a good MC is going to scream even louder other words to kind
Right.
of let it down. But, as a family, you have to say, I don't care. I embrace it. It's fine. These kids know the language anyway. Or you're going to say, nope, I don't embrace it. It's not appropriate. This is a religious affair. Now, there's complexity, though, when we have to say to kids, sorry, I can't play your favorite song, Mo Bamba. I can't play Fiend that, every single kid at the party is asking for. That puts us in a tricky position. We want to play those songs. We want to prove that we got it and we're cool and they like us. But know that it's not appropriate.
Some of it's even hard to dance to. Some of it's just like, it's hard. It's hard to dance to.
Well,
So
let's face it, the boys really don't. They just kind of jump up and down and scream the song. It's more or less modern moshing. It's another new term I'm going to coin today.
I think you have to have an honest conversation with your kid and ask them, what are your music expectations? What are you looking for? Are you looking to dance? In which case, let's make sure that we pick the music that you're going to be able to dance to. If you're going to say, I want to dance, but then give us a bunch of music that is not danceable, even if we dig deep and our DJs are really talented, they'll find re-drums, re-edits, and mix it live to maybe make it a little bit better. But when push comes to shove, there are dancing and non-dancing hip-hop songs today. And if you give us all hip-hop songs that you can't dance to, it's going to make it very hard for us to know the flavors that will help you get on the dance floor. But if you tell us straight up, hey, listen, the music style that I have is not something that I can dance to. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to play what is important for everyone to dance to, and we're going to bypass that. That's another way of looking at it.
Yeah. I'd like to do something for the sake of the next couple of minutes on this recording. I want to go in chronological order of the flow of a party, what you play, and why you play it. So let's start with cocktail hour. Do you have anything pre-programmed or pre-selected that you typically use, Dylan, for bar and bat mitzvahs?
So it depends on the location of it. If the kids are in the main room, I want my DJ mixing straight into music that they would like typically anyway, because no one is going to have a problem with you playing their favorite song later in the night as well. So if they're in the main room, I like going right into it and playing music that they're going to love and recognize right from the jump. But if they're in a separate room,
I'll also say music that the adults may not want later, you can
definitely
play it and burn it early so you don't have to do it twice. Yeah,
definitely. So if they're in the main room, or if, I'm talking old school now, but we used to have like actual satellite ballrooms with full DJ setups, like in a cocktail hour room where the DJ was actually mixing there as well. And they would break that down and come into the main room. So if I have the opportunity, I want to play exactly what the kids are going to want to hear, curated from the request list, and I have no problem playing it a second time later in the night. For the adults, are we talking adults? We're talking adult cocktail hour as well?
Yeah, we're talking cocktail hour as a whole. So sometimes the adults are in the same room, sometimes they're in separate rooms from the kids.
Now, regardless of if they're in the same room or a separate room, adults, I'm always going to play something up-tempo and vibey, typically without lyrics. A lounge house, a groove junkies, something like that. Because, there's some psychology to having up-tempo music being played in the background, the noise, that sets you in a better, more excited mindset. Mm-hmm. Where, the days of Frank Sinatra jazz standards are gone. Even to dinner, gone. So music expectations, unless you have a specific list that you need to have played here, let us handle the cocktail hour from the perspective of we want something up-tempo, driving the energy without getting in the way of your natural conversations for adults.
Okay, so we just talked cocktail hour. Now let's talk about room opening. And sometimes the room opens with just the kids, and sometimes the room opens with everybody simultaneously. What is a good suggested musical approach?
Mike, from my perspective, you shouldn't waste anything. You should go right into it and jump down the throats with some of the best music that will drive people onto the dance floor. In most cases, we start with an opening dance set to set the tone. And great high energy companies will do this every time, where your guests are coming in from cocktail hour and they are hit with a wall of energy and they're set up with like, oh, this is going to be that kind of night. So I want to play music that is going to bring people together, that typically bridges the gap between the generations that we talked about earlier. And artists that come to mind are like Pitbull, Katy Perry, Icona Pop, Usher. Like those are kind of the artists that I'm seeing in my head.
Yeah, I say playing it safe during that time. And you said bridging the gap, meaning the same thing that I'm saying is playing music that transcends all of those age brackets. And certainly is energetic.
It's a fun little game that you can play with your kid when you're thinking about it. Like, yo, little Johnny, like, what's your favorite dance song? And see if it matches your favorite dance song as the parent. And like, it's kind of like finding matchmaking right there in music. And if you can come up with 3 or 4 of them that you both love together, it sets you up for some good success in that opening set. So
sure does.
For the beginning part,
what's next?
Yeah, so now we're going into our formality sets, which are all predetermined songs that you, the family, the client, are going to pick for your grand entrance and your candle lighting, stuff like that. So, like, let's bypass that. Now we're after.
Hang on, actually, I don't want to bypass it. I think it's important. Do you have suggestions that you would share with the family as they're picking songs for their introductions?
So I love when families try their best to bring in either a theme or a message in the song. Like if you have a dance theme and you use a remix of Dancing Queen, like that's cool. But don't let it get in the way or try too hard where it is really low energy or down tempo and we can't fix that. Because these moments are of high energy and the music will be that heartbeat. My example that I've used before is a family. Their daughter's name meant sun, S-U-N, or the sun, and they wanted to use "Here Comes the Sun" by the Beatles for their entrance, and it was too low energy for them. So we had to come up with a different solution. And I don't remember exactly the solution, but we made it work. I think it was like a fireball or something like that. So I like when they try to drive meaning to it. I like when they do that, but I think it should really check a box of, can we keep it fun, light, exciting? I really don't want to see candle lightings that are really low energy. It ends up dragging it along a little bit too much, and you want to get back out and partying soon anyway.
I got one more piece to talk about with this. Very often families ask to start a song at a certain point. And I want to say that in theory is perfect, but it doesn't always work out because you never know how long the MC needs to talk to get to that moment. So what we try to do very often, let's say you picked a song and you said started at 1:42. We try to play a snippet of the song earlier. So the MC is saying, ladies and gentlemen, focus your attention to the doors. We've got the world's coolest sister standing out there. And while the MC is doing that, we can't start at 1:42. Until he says, make some noise for Jennifer. And like, once you hear the Jennifer name, that's when the 1:42 starts. So I don't think parents need to micromanage this, is the point that I'm saying. We as professionals know when to drop a song. We also very often have remixes that are timed differently. If you say 1:42, 1:42 might be what it is on the iTunes version, but not on the version we're playing.
Yeah. So in that case, make sure if there's a really important part to the song that's meaningful to you that you really want, first of all, convey your vision to your DJ. Like, hey, I really want them to be coming out when they scream, "Don't stop the party," whatever it's going to be, right? That way, we're not worried about a timestamp, because if we get a timestamp, it's not going to line up with every single version that we have here. So I think that's important.
And just be conscious of the length of time that some songs have. Like sometimes people want, AC/DC, Hell's Bells, great, energetic, classic rock song if you're like a rocker family. But there's a long intro before the beat really kicks in, and either that MC needs to ad lib for a very long time, or there's some like awkwardness to the song. So yeah, again, a professional DJ will actually set certain cue points to advance the song at certain points, and in tandem with the MC will make that seamless.
That's
okay,
right.
so what comes after introductions is your first dance set.
So are we now past the so we did all of our formality set, grand entrance, candle lighting.
Okay. Well, I'm still thinking opening dance set. So there's room opening, there's grand entrance, and then we're dancing as a whole for 3 or 4 more songs before we sit.
I mean, I think you're keeping the same vein here, Mike. I think you're trying to play music that everyone can at least vibe with a little bit.
Okay, I want to share a story then.
Okay.
A few weeks ago, I was asked by a family to play Fiend and Carnival immediately after the grand entrance. And I interjected and I said, I don't think this is a good idea at all, because we are going to only involve the kids and alienate the adults at this point. So my tip is don't ask the DJ what to play after the grand entrance. In fact, often we don't know until that moment what's going to feel right. But it needs to, again, transcend the ages. It needs to be very generic, because I feel like at that party, if I played Fiend and Carnival, as soon as the grand entrance happened, all the adults would have dispersed and I would have lost them. And then I would have had nothing but kids on dance floor, which might not have been a bad thing if that was the goal. But I know the goal was to have a inclusive party. So I think that's really important to know.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk a whole podcast on how to work with a DJ's music, but for the sake of today, we do all of our we that first set that includes your grand entrance is going to include inclusive music for everybody. It's collaborative. It's supposed to be collaborative. Now we go through our formalities. Candle lighting, I think our only tip right here is to keep things up tempo when possible. So that way you're lively and energized. And then after your hora, what are you playing? I think that the goal at this point is still the same as the beginning, which is we want everyone to feel welcome on this dance floor. So let's play music for everybody. Now, there's going to be natural attrition at the end of the 1 or 2 songs post hora. There's going to be people who want to find that bar because they haven't been there since cocktail hour. There's going to be people who just aren't used to dancing that long, or they have to go to the bathroom, or whatever it is. There's going to be natural attrition. And it's at this point, it's at this juncture that we have to slowly start making these turns into specific genres or specific decades. And this comes down to mealtime. A lot of times, Mike, we have salads being dropped, first course for adults being dropped. There's a great opportunity for us to soft open those salads and slowly move into music that the kids would appreciate more, that maybe the adults aren't into.
Dog has a lot to say about this as well.
He wants Baha Men.
You should let that dog out. Don't you have a big yard for him to run around?
This is my in-laws dog, and he just doesn't get it. He's like 11 months old. He just doesn't get it. My dog's like sleeping on the couch for the last hour.
All right. So after during the meal, we talked about during the meal, what happens here. When possible, separate the kids and the adults. That's key. Make sure that we actually like to serve the adults first. Serve the kids first. We do that by design. If we serve the kids first, then we get to focus on the adults. And our goal now is really to show the adults a good time. I love nothing more than rocking a set dedicated to the adults, and the adults are just feeling it. They're lively. Like, they kind of need it because they've gone through this like generic, all-inclusive, high-energy set. Then they're sitting down for speeches and candle lighting. We want them to feel so involved that they're not making up their mind. Hey, hon, I think we're going to eat dinner and leave early. Like, we need them to make that decision right then and there at the midway point of the night that, subconsciously they're saying, this is going to be one of the best damn parties I've ever been to. We're staying at the very last minute.
Right.
I call the babysitter now, we're coming home late, like that kind of thing.
Right.
And if we're not given that opportunity, it's hard.
So I think, Mike, the takeaway there is 2 to 3 songs post Hora is where you will find a break in the action for either an all adult set or an all kid set. This doesn't mean that the adults can't be a part of the kid set or the kids can't be a part of the adult set, depending on the vibe of music. But what it does mean is that's when you should plan one of your meal breaks, whether it's the first course or the main course for the kids. That natural break right there, 2-3 songs after the Hora, is when the DJ should start moving into a generational gap of music, which is going to be, your Fiend and Carnival, which we keep bringing up. And I'm, that music is kind of here to stay for now.
Be interesting when we go back and watch this podcast 6 months from now, what songs we're talking about then. Mo Bamba has been now, what, 3 years?
It's been more than that. I can't believe it stood the test of time here, man. I can't believe it. So at this point, Mike, we've had that natural break. Just know that in most cases, there's a give and take. Let's say it's 15 minutes of that natural break set for mealtime, and you're playing all kids music. In almost every case, there's going to be a seesaw effect where the kids are going to eat and you're going to have a good chunk of time for adults. So don't think that it's not equitable there. You will have time for both of them if you lay out your run of show and your timeline correctly, where there is staggered meal times. That's really, really important for the success of music.
So I want to hit one more thing, because we keep talking about like adult set and kids set, and we're using those terms very loosely. Like back in the day, what'd you say last episode? 18 years ago was your bar mitzvah. 18 years ago, there I could almost guarantee there was like a 50s, 60s doo-wop kind of set at your party.
Dude, there was a Grease mega mix set at my bar mitzvah where Bobby Morgenstein Productions brought out T-Bird and Pink Lady jackets. And in the planning meeting, he made me list out who was going to wear the jackets with me, in what side. And dude, it was so choreographed. And yes, there was an actual set dedicated to Grease in this case.
Motown, disco, like those were things. And very interestingly, music used to be played for almost the whole length of a song. Like if that Grease mega mix is 4.5 minutes long, you played all 4.5 minutes. In today's TikTok society, attention span, adults and kids, are so much shorter. Because what are you doing? You're on TikTok or Instagram. You're like swiping as quick as you can. The same thing is happening at these parties. There's a term called quick mixing, and we embrace it to some extent. It doesn't mean you're getting 30 seconds of a song and then out, and then 30 seconds of another one, but you're hardly playing songs more than 2 minutes. Let's really face it.
That's for sure.
The reason why I bring that up is that there's not necessarily full-blown sets the way that they used to be. You could very quickly transcend from the 80s to 90s to 2000s and still call that a retro set, believe it or not, and play for the adults. And that 80s, 90s, 2000s set might include something like Michael Jackson and something like Bruce Springsteen, which are very different, but they're both geared towards the adults. And I think that's neat because, the day of only playing disco for 20 minutes and only Motown for 20 minutes, that's gone.
Yeah.
Quick mixing and technology of DJing has changed so much that you could play different genres. And I think that that's so cool. We just need to, as DJs, know what's appropriate. And I said it before, when to play it and how long to play them for.
That's right. So, and then there's going to be times, Mike, where you're going to want to bring everyone back together. And that's when you have your all dance sets. But where this episode stems from is when you have expectations set ahead of time where mom and dad, you're going to have your music. I promise you're going to have your music. But I also have to make sure that Johnny has his music too. Let me show you how we're going to do that. And I'll show you on the run of show where that music is going to fit in. And look, if everything goes to hell, because of timeline faux pas, we will make up the difference. Great companies will do that. But man, like you gotta set the expectation ahead of time, because if you don't set that, then you could come into your event and not realize that we are deliberately trying to play a certain style of music right now. And if you guys come up to us and say, why aren't you playing this? It's for a reason. And then you get all upset and
I want to
Yeah.
maybe tie the bow with this thought here. I'm going to give a scenario, and so much of what we do comes down to psychology and earning the trust of the audience. And I'm going to use the song "Sweet Caroline" as an example. If we played "Sweet Caroline" at a bar mitzvah, heavily boy party, very early in the night, in that first dance set, I guarantee the boys are going to scatter off the dance floor, run away, and pretty much say this DJ sucks.
It's possible.
Now flip the script. If we played Mobamba and Carnival and Fiend and all these songs we keep talking about early in the night, and we've earned the trust of these kids, and they're in it and they're engaged. If we play Sweet Caroline with 45 minutes left at the end of the night, I could almost guarantee that the boys, the same boys that would have ran away earlier, would be on the dance floor singing the song at the top of their lungs. As hokey as the song might be, to them now we've broken the ice and we've gotten them past that point of I'm too cool for you. And that is one of so many examples that we could give on how a song just needs to be played at the right time for it to be successful.
That's right. I like it, Mike. I like it. Episode 142 in the books. Explosive Entertainment at XE Events or XEevents.com. I'm Dylan. That's Mike. And we'll see you next time.